Hi, welcome to AFTV. I've got Jason with me. We've just been in Ipswich Town 4-0 here at the Portman Road. Let's just start with the 11. Were you happy with the small changes and how strong and how serious Arteta took it today?
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously I've heard what other people have said, and I think there is a balance between making sure that we're getting through the games, we're managing the games, and we're going out strong, and we're treating every competition that we compete in with the respect that it deserves, and also making sure that we're managing the fitness and the freshness of the players. So someone like Ben White, for example, needed those minutes today. You could possibly even think about whether or not you give him a start, maybe at centre half. On Wednesday, and give Saliba a little bit of a rest, maybe. There are lots of options, and it's very positive that you can bring in Ben White, you can bring in Zinchenko, and you can still go out and get a really strong result today in the Premier League. And it bodes well. I think mentally and physically we have to, and emotionally we have to just manage the players. We have to manage the we have to manage the fatigue. We have to manage all elements of the game. So I was actually I was a bit surprised by how strong we went, but it didn't. I wasn't fazed by it. I think you do need to. Again, I heard the arguments about Saka, and I think we're really hitting a rhythm at the minute, and it's therefore quite difficult to think about how you don't want to disturb that rhythm by coming into a game like this, which could be one. They're still playing for something. They're still trying to play for their safety. And obviously, like they held Chelsea last week, so they've got it in them. But we obviously didn't see that from them today because I thought they were actually quite poor.
Yeah, I thought they were quite poor as well. I think it's spawned.
I could kind of. I mean, it's interesting because I lived out here near here for a good few years.
A lot of Arsenal fans got a little connection to Ipswich.
Yeah. A little bit further down south, but I did like I coached. I did some work with their academies, and their academy was really good to me actually. So fair play to them for that. So I've got a little bit of an affinity to them, and it's interesting watching them play. I can kind of see how they've done so well, how they've come up through the leagues. But what's obvious is the glaring lack of quality that they have in terms of that individual quality, which is a shame. But they came and they tried to play. And they've obviously they've taken points off teams, so they're doing well. But we couldn't let that be a banana skin for us today. Coming off the high of Madrid midweek, it was it's a potential banana skin, and we've done very well to navigate that and get through that. And then it's on to Palace, and I think Palace will have half an eye on their game at the weekend. So again, I think it's the sort of game where we have to go and we have to just control from the start. We have to get the early couple of goals and just kind of force our game. And then it's a week's rest onto a massive game. I think you mentioned earlier about what he might be looking at ahead of the PSG game.
Do you think Partey was dropped today because of what he stupidly did at Real Madrid, or do you think he was just trying out what he might see at PSG?
Yeah, I think a combination of both. I think an element of it probably was a little bit of punishment because he didn't get any minutes. Which I think is fine. I think it's fine. I think what happened in midweek was really naive. I think we saw the reaction from Rice, and that kind of showed what he thought and probably what some of the other players thought. Because obviously now we're a little bit weaker in a game that we for an element of naivety. We didn't really need that. But what we do have options, and I think what Arteta's probably also doing is probably trying to keep PSG guessing a little bit as well, because I think it would be really easy to make assumptions about what we would do. Personally, I think he goes with Moreno up top. I think he keeps Rice in the position that he's played in and has done so well in, and I think probably we'll see Lewis Skelly go in there.
Wow.
That's where I would probably lean towards. I think Moreno's done such a good job up top, and he gives us such a great outball, and he is almost Havertz reincarnated in some respects. That you don't necessarily want to lose that, but and there is a big but. Trossard was he's so effective in the in the box, and for the home game certainly that's definitely a potential option. And then obviously with Partey being back for the return leg, you can kind of change it up a bit. So I think we've got options. I think like I said, we've hit a rhythm now, and I just want to see us take that rhythm through to the end of the season. I think if we take it through to the end of the season, it can be a very successful season.
Let's hope so, Jason. Thank you very much.